Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Ijewere. I am the convener and host of the Get Talking with Esther. It's another Saturday. Oh, yes, it's the first one this year, the first Get Talking with Esther on my Facebook page. And today I have Mr. Michael Dibwa from the African Heritage Center, a community leader who is touching lives in Canada and, of course, trying to make a difference in the lives of Nigerians, Africans, and Afro Caribbeans across Canada, especially in Ontario. And today it's going to be an interesting conversation. Anything that has to do with community, count Esther in. Anything that has to do with bringing us together as Africans, count me in. And that's what the conversation is tailored in today. So before I bring in Mr. Michael, I want to quickly just say Happy New Year to my Facebook family. I know I've not seen you all in a while, but you'll be seeing a lot of my face this year. I'll be bringing engaging conversations with people across the globe, for us to come here, and bring those very, very sensitive and sometimes social conversations that we need to have. And that's it for me. I'll be having Mr. Michael on the stage so that we can get started on the show today. Hi, Mr. Michael.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Esther. Good day to everyone else from every part of the world. How are
And
you?
how are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Esther. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What was the highlight of your week? I always like to ask people, what was that thing that stood up for you this week and made you say, yes, this was a good week? What was the highlight?
Oh, for me this week, I think it was supporting an event by another organization of African descent.
Amazing. All right. Can
Yeah.
you tell us more about it? What was the event about? Because I know you're passionate about supporting community events, supporting Afro Caribbeans and Africans across Canada. So please, just want to tell us, telling us a little bit about the event.
Yes, so it's a launch of a media organization here in Ontario, dedicated to promoting people of African descent, and it was their inaugural event. I was invited to participate as with other leaders of the Black community, and I was honored to go there and just support what they were trying to do.
Amazing. And, that is something that you're very passionate about, supporting the African community. I remember that I was in attendance, the event you had in December last year, where you brought people across Ontario together to that event. You want to just tell us about that before I introduce you formally to the audience?
Thank you, Esther. So every year the African Heritage Center holds a year event, and it's a celebration of the year, taking stock of what we've been able to do and achieve, and just bringing our people together. We as people of African descent, year end, Christmas, and opportunities to be a village, to be a community, is something that we take very, very dearly. So coming together to have fun, to celebrate, and to talk about what we've done last year and what we're prepping to do the following year, it's something that we will continue to do. So we had, like you said, people from across the diaspora, people from across African descent. Our keynote speaker was the Honorable Kofi Burns. We also had so many people, so many great leaders from the Black community there. It was a very, very immersive program, and with fun experience for everyone.
Amazing. And I was reading your profile the other day, your bio, and I said, your passion for community, your passion for just putting Africa on the map, is this part of the legal background you have? Or is just your passion on the side? Because I want to know, because I always ask people when they pivot or when they evolve into something or they do something totally different from their core. What exactly informed your decision to say, listen, I want to bring the community together. I want to make sure that I put Africa on the map. What actually informed your decision, sir?
Well, it is service. When you live out here, when you're far from home, you still think of home. And when you think of home, you look around you and you see our people from diverse communities. And I've been fortunate in my practice to have clientels from all of Africa, from the Caribbean, and from other parts of the world. And each time I'm able to provide service for them, I also look at us coming together as a community. So my drive has always been wanting to see what's better for our people, wanting to see, the ideals of the community and the society that we live represented in things that we do for our people, And so, the African Heritage Center is one of the visions that God has led me to be part of. But I've also been involved in other communities as well. For instance, I was involved in the founding of the not-for-profit called It Begins With You, meaning, essentially saying that the things that we need to see change in our communities should begin with each of us. That not-for-profit is geared towards helping and alleviating, poverty situations in Nigeria. So, service to my community within the context of service from where I am and who I am as a person of African descent is what drives me to participate in community events.
Powerful. Thank you so much for sharing what drives you. I like the intersection there, between community and your background, and just making sure that you're putting out something that would be timeless, because what you're building is timeless, and generations to come. I remember Mrs. Nene said it during the interview at the event, that this is something that will be timeless, means generations to come would not only benefit from this, but then they would learn from this. All right, everyone. Once again, I'm with Mr. Michael Dubois, and we're going to be having an interesting conversation today. So if you know anyone who is either in Ontario or anywhere across the globe, and want to learn more about the community in, here in Ontario, in Canada, and the work that we're doing, Mr. Michael Dubois is one of the people that you need to know. So today I'm putting him on the hot seat, but it's a good hot seat. All right. I'm just going to quickly read his profile. I'll keep it short. Like I always tell folks, when you bring powerful people on board like this, you can't read their bio in its entirety, so I'm going to just keep it short. However, I encourage you to Google his name, to follow at African Heritage Center as well, to learn more about the work that they do. All right, so Mr. Michael Dubois is a dedicated lawyer and notary specializing in family law in Ontario, Canada. He was called to bar in Nigeria in 1999, to the Ontario Bar in 2010, bringing over 2 decades of legal experience to his practice. With a deep commitment to community development, Michael has actively contributed to various organizations and associations that serve both Canadian and Nigerian communities. He is passionate about promoting causes that foster unity, love, and kinship within the Nigerian and broader African communities. In 2012, Michael played a pivotal role in founding the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers, where he championed the vision that brought the organization to life. In 2019, he co-founded the EIBWU Foundation, It Begins With You, a charitable initiative dedicated to empowering individuals and uplifting communities. That's not all. Michael is also a strong advocate for African culture and heritage. Since late 2022, he has led efforts to establish an African Heritage Center in Ontario, Canada, aiming to create a space that celebrates and preserves African traditions, history, and contributions to the legal community. And that's his profile. Like I said, I kept it really, really short. And I want to quickly touch, I know we have questions for today on you bringing lawyers together in Ontario. Was that part of your passion? You just got to Canada and you said, okay, I have this experience. Let's bring lawyers together. Let me start this organization, an umbrella that will bring us together. Can you quickly touch on that?
Well, there was a vacuum when I came, and that vacuum was that we did not have an association of Nigerian lawyers practicing in Ontario. I had the opportunity to attend events put up by the South Asian lawyers. I also attended a Black lawyers association, but I noticed that we didn't have anything for Nigerian lawyers or Canadian Nigerian lawyers practicing in Ontario. And that was what motivated me with a group of my friends in 2025 to incorporate a not-for-profit and call it the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers. We were able to find our lawyers by I used those characteristics, those unique names. There was no registry of Nigerian lawyers anywhere at that time, and so I went on the website of the portal of the Law Society of Ontario at that time, and then I used unique names like AGs and ADs, such a unique African character, and I was able to find a lot of our lawyers at the time. I probably say I found almost 200 lawyers, and we had an inaugural session in 2019, and that the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers has grown in strength and is doing a great job in our community, even as of now.
Amazing. And how is the association now? How you all, how is it since inception till now? What are some activities that you guys have done that have stood out in Ontario and Canada as a whole?
Well, the association has grown in leaps and bounds. There has been since 2019. This is 2025 now. There's been obviously we've had things like Feed the Hungry. We partnered with the Law Society of Ontario to do a Feed the Hungry program where we reached out to people in our communities that had nothing. Every year, the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers host galas to recognize and celebrate the achievements of Nigerian lawyers, and also their periodic community programs, professional programs in the law, approved by the Law Society, where we learn, learn things that can benefit us as lawyers. They're called professional development programs. So it enables us to sit in our own space to discuss best practices to move ourselves forward.
Amazing. And that brings me to the big elephant in the room, which is the African Heritage Center. I want to know, what drives your passion when it comes to, you preserving the African heritage as a whole. What's that thing? What's the inspiration behind the drive?
Esther, heritage is something that's passed down from generation to generation. Some of the synonyms of heritage are things like culture, customs, legacy, rights. In North America, you look around and you say, what are the things that we have here as people of African descent that we can point to for the generations that live here, and generations, like you said, the generations that will come after me, and you don't see them. In the whole of Ontario, for instance, we don't have a center for African heritage. So, and we lost a lot of our heritage were not preserved because we lost them during the slave trade, during colonialism. A lot of our things were artifacts and things about our cultures were taken out of Nigeria or parts of Africa and so on and so forth. But some of them are returning. And while Africa stands as the motherboard and, for Africa and for the preservation of, you don't have to go far to see everything about our culture. If you go to Africa, I'm talking about the context of North America and Canada and Ontario in particular. We don't have anything. So that's my passion. My passion is to have a place where we can come together and not only celebrate, but begin to preserve the heritage of people of African descent, and to be able to say to our Caribbean brothers, to our people, African Americans, African Canadians, that you can find your place at the African Heritage Center.
You can find your place at the African Heritage Center. We need to paint that. That should be an headline for an article, actually, because people need to know that they can find their place within the center. So how do you hope to, unite the African diaspora and communities? It's a lot of community out there. So what's the strategy to bring everybody together?
When you look at uniting groups, you look at shared grounds and common grounds. You look at vision, and we have so many organizations of African descent in Ontario. I know there's so many of us, but we should start looking at more of what jumps at me is collaboration, supporting each other, intentionality. Intentionality of these things, they come to mind, and implementing comes to mind. The fact that we should move away from being individualistics and silos to coming together as one, not coming out there to reinvent what people have done. We have the opportunity, and we're privileged that the ones that have come before us have set up some grounds for us to work on, and there's no need to start reinventing it. So coming together under diverse leadership, delegating and coming together is what I see as the way that we come together as one, and not just the talking, but the doing. About so that we can continue to be relevant to the fabric of this country that we live in and be part of decision making.
Amazing.
That's what I think will drive us as a people.
Thank you, Mr. Deborah. And, in all of this, what role will the African Heritage Center play specifically? Because, we can talk about the broader community, and then we want to talk about the role African Heritage Center is going to play as a whole in making sure that we are united, in making sure that there is no diversification. And then, of course, like you said, we're not operating from a place of being a silo, where we can all come together. So what role is the AHC going to play in this?
We've already started playing a great role. And what we see is intentionally bringing people together from the diverse and rich history of our people. So even from the outlook of our board of directors, we have people from the Caribbean, people from other African countries, and we're inviting more people to be part of us. When you look at our membership, it's very, very diverse. Our programs have been curated to touch the lives of every Black community, and so the role that we see ourselves playing as the African Heritage Center is to be a beacon. The center will be a symbol of what we are, where our people, even visitors coming to Canada, even our communities beyond the Black community can go and say, and when you get in there, you feel that this place is different. This place is wow. I see museums of African modern African history, of Asian African history. I see a place where we can there were a troupe from Rwanda, a troupe from Botswana or from Ghana is performing, where films can be premiered, where our seniors can come and spend time together with each other, play the games that they know, teach others that don't know that game. Teach even people that are not Africans how we lived in the past, how living as a village, living as a common people, showing hospitality and love, which is again how we live as people of African descent. So the African Heritage Center, even now that we haven't built a center, these are the things that we're doing. Like you said, beyond the year-end event, last year we had a charity in the park event where we set up in a park. We set up clothing displays. We had clothing, we had food, we had shoes, we had anything you can think of. And we invited everybody from our communities to come and take whatever they need, because we Africans, we give back. And, our programs are intentionally geared towards showing love and support to our communities, while also, from the African context. And so that's the role we see ourselves playing, that one day our center will be the multicultural inward center that brings all of our people together, a place that will be the one citadel that will draw all of our people together, because there you can have, like I said, one of the things we will have is a center for ancestry DNA, for our people that are spread around the world, that know where they can trace their roots to. Empowerment programs in our banquet halls, I beg your pardon, in our meeting rooms and in our banquet halls, and so on and so forth, that will create and stand as that beacon. It goes back to that citadel and that beacon of hope and unity for people of African descent. That is where we are geared towards, and that's what we're doing with our programs as we move forward to building a center in Ontario in the future.
And that's powerful. That's really powerful, and that's a lot of work. I must say kudos to you and your team, for the programs, for adding value to society, and of course, once again, putting Africa on the map. For those who are just joining, my name is Esther Ijawere, once again, host of the Get Talking with Esther. And I'm here with Mr. Michael Dubois, the visionary of the African Heritage Center. Mr. Michael, we've been discussing about the African Heritage Center, but one question that I'd like to ask you is young people. How do we get them involved? The slogan is get them young, get them young, get them involved at a very young age. I was watching a Reels yesterday, a video on Instagram, and Miss Sibukwa Woshika said she learned something from an Italian friend that the children started working at the factory from a very young age. And by the time they grew up, they were able to put them where their talent, work with. And because a lot of parents just leave their businesses and they don't get their children involved. And then sometimes when they pass on, those businesses just fizzle out. So when I talk about young people, when I talk about how do we get them involved, I mean, how do we let them see this message? Because they are the carriers of information in the digital age. So how do we get them involved in preserving the cultural heritage in Africa?
We have to be intentional. I mean, intentionality is key. And at the year-end events that we had a space for our young children, and Dave Edwards sat with our kids and taught them, a few things about culture. And we know we intentionally wanted to have that event, and we'll continue to have that event as they grow, so that they grow up knowing and saying to mom or dad, I was there last year, I want to go again this year, and not stopping it, because as they grow older and they participate in the things that we do, we're going to have a youth, because we're fairly new, we're fairly evolving in our vision. We know how important it is to like you said, get our kids involved from an early age. There's so many organizations here in Ontario that teach unique African languages, from Swahili to Igbo to Yoruba, and to other African languages to kids and here in Ontario. And at the African Heritage Center, we're going to have a youth, almost like a youth center within the center, and also a nursery, and programs will be curated specifically to teaching our culture, teaching our languages, and and we will also have programs that will be fun enough that our kids will want to be involved in it, and not just our kids, our youth as well. We'll be looking at maintaining their enthusiasm towards our programs, having them engage and participate in the things that we do in our communities. And we've had young adults, from teenagers to those in university, come to some of our programs and serve as volunteers doing our programs. And the feedback we get is that they're very, very motivated. And so we'll also be empowering them. We'll be empowering them, and having programs dedicated to the youth, to the young adults, and even for our kids, around the African theme, telling them about the history of obviously the history of African history, African civilization, African custom, and not just saying it from a point of view of it being vague, but also showing them. That's why we say we have Asian culture and modern culture. And so it's not of what happened in the past and then nothing happened after, but also point them to what is happening now and give them the opportunity to be part of it, to be part of preserving the cultural landscape, conserving our cultural landscape, having festivals around African themes and so on and so forth, enjoying our food and culinary heritage. African food and African music, Afro beats. Those are the way that we think that getting our young ones involved and them knowing about it will help us to continue to preserve the history of peoples of African descent.
Oh, fantastic, amazing. And what are some challenges you encounter at the African Heritage Center, and how do you navigate these challenges? Because this is a huge vision, so I can imagine there are some challenges. And how do you just sort of navigate those challenges and walk your way through them?
Esther, our people sometimes will look at what you're trying to do, and off the bat, there are doubts about how you're going to get the financing, or the apathy towards, I don't know, the lack of unity we've talked about, because there's so many of us in silos when we can come together. And then that entrenched division, like somebody doesn't want to, I'm the head of my organization, how do I fit into what you're planning to do, and so on and so forth. And you see those things, but you also look at organizations and people who have been able to build in Ontario, such that we know that people of African descent are beyond a continent. So we're not just limited to the African continent, which is huge on its own, but we're also in the Caribbean. We in Canada, if you go to Nova Scotia, there's the rich history of the Africville community, who are Africans, and then of course you go to Europe, you go to America, African Americans, and so on. So we're beyond a continent. And then you say, okay, but what do we have to show with respect to our history, our culture, where our people can enrich themselves and enjoy themselves. And that's what's motivating us. We know that as a people, this is time to close ranks. We know that as a people, we can do this. We also know that as a people, this benefits us more importantly. And so that's the drive. Despite the challenges that we face, we also know that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Mm-hmm. And so we will continue no matter what. We will bring this to fruition. We have a lot of work ahead of us. And we welcome that challenge, while we also continue to invite people with diverse skill sets that we need to bring this vision to fruition. And trust me, Esther, like you said, it's a legacy project. It's not for me. It's for the future. And if my role is to plant that seed together with my board, together with all the wonderful members that we have today, together with members of our committees and so on that's driving this force, if our role is to start it, as long as we continue to make incremental gains towards bringing it to fruition, I think we would have done what we're supposed to do at this time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Michael. And my next question, obviously, is next month is the Black History Month. We celebrate the Black History Month across North America. Are there any programs, training, workshops from the African Heritage Center that we need to look forward to?
Yes, definitely. Every year since our inception, we've had a Black History Month presentation. And we intentionally, we don't confine Black history only to February. So the African Heritage Center is intentional in having our presentations in March or April, because the conversations need to continue. And so last year we talked about, we had leaders in the Black community come together. But what we find interesting is just the conversation. It starts with a conversation to a vision, and then to decisions, takeaways, and then implementation. And so this year is going to be the same thing. We're going to have an assembly of leaders in the Black community talking about the things that concern us, but not just talking about it, but trying to come up with solutions. Mm-hmm. And it's usually a very, very interactive discussions led by our panelists and so on. And we go away from this meetings, or from this meeting with things to do. For us at the African Heritage Center, it's about implementation. So this year, when I invite our friends to look at our website and our Instagram page, there will be in the next few weeks our presentation and our flyer, and our speakers will be shared on all of our social media about our Black history. We will be calling it the Black History and Heritage Presentation 2025 this year.
Amazing. And we definitely look forward to that. I would love to attend. Your programs are always top notch, so I know it's going to be nothing, more than exclusive, and of course, beautiful. Just before we wrap up, I just want you to, share some words for immigrant young people who still have not embraced the African culture, especially those from African homes who just separate themselves from the culture, like, nah, I don't want to be part of this. No, nope, nope, nope. I was born here in Canada. Do not. So just, let them see what is ahead, like, please just some words for them.
Thank you, Esther. When you look around and you see people that represent you, it motivates you. And I don't know if we have failed them by not being conspicuous enough or not being there for them. But I will say to them, at the end of the day, even when you're born here, you're a person of African descent. And there's nothing wrong with embracing the culture of Canada, because Canada is one of those countries that allow you to be Canadian and yet African, or yet wherever you're from. And we have a role to play as their parents, as their uncles, as their relative. And this is what motivates the African Heritage Center. The fact that we want to show them, we want to bring them into rooms and into conversations and into decisions, and show them from leadership decision to being involved in the decision making in government, in how they can be part of the fabric of the community that we live in. We hold ourselves responsible, even with our programmings today. And that's why we invite them to our programs, including our presentation. Our every 8 to 12 weeks, we also have a roundtable where we discuss these challenges. But it's one thing to discuss, but it's another thing for them to see. And this is what the African Heritage Center will continue to do, to show them you're African, embrace it, love it, and enjoy it, because it will stand you in good stead.
To stand in good step. And that's a powerful one. Thank you for ending with that powerful one there. Thank you so much for your time. Can people find this information on the AHC website?
Yes. I mean, thank you. Our website is africanheritage.org. I think African Heritage Center, if you search us on Instagram and also on LinkedIn, all of our programs, all of our offerings, including recordings of our programs can be found on our website, and also with respect to programs that we'll be having for the rest of the year.
Amazing. And for those who want to support the work that you're doing at AHC, who is a contact person, how do they reach out to you or the board member?
Thank you. Of course, like I said, Esther, we have a need. This is a clarion call for all people of African descent to join in this movement, to join in this program. We have a donate button on our website at africanheritagecenter.org. Emails can be sent to the board at africanheritage.org. All our informations are also on our website. We have when you go in there, there are different people you can contact. You can also drop us an email on the website. There's a contact page on our website, and we will connect.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I know that people have, they know more about the work that is being done at the African Heritage Center. Please, if you're watching this right now, go on the website. If you want to learn more, go follow them on Instagram at African Heritage Center. Is there a LinkedIn group as well for the African Heritage Center, sir?
There is, yeah. The same search. You search with African Heritage Center. There's LinkedIn and on Instagram as well, Esther.
Okay. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Michael. And please share this for those who want to learn more about the work of the African Heritage Center in Ontario. It's live on my YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook page. But beyond that, get involved. And the way you can get involved is to first go to the African Heritage Center Ontario website to learn more about the work they're doing and see how you can get involved. I want to believe there are people who can even volunteer remotely as well. If there's anything you can do to support and add value to the work that is being done here, remember, this is a legacy that we're building in Ontario, and it's going to leave generations to come. Mr. Michael, and that's a wrap for me today. Thank you for your time once again. Thank you for, explaining the beautiful work that you're doing at the African Heritage Center. I wish you all the best with your program in February and everything that you have planned for 2025. Have a beautiful day, sir. And of course, God bless you.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. All right, everyone. And that's a wrap for me today. Thank you so much for joining today. Once again, my name is Esther Ijore, and I look forward to the next program. I cannot wait to bring my next guest for you, and that's going to be next week by God's grace. Don't forget to follow at Esther Ijore on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Don't forget to follow me on my YouTube channel, Esther Ijore 4. Listen, we're going to be having a fantastic time this year on Get Talking with Esther. I'll be going into the streets. I'll be bringing some fantastic guests across the globe, so watch out for that. Thank you to everyone that joined today. I do not take your support for granted, and of course I look forward to catching up with everyone later in the year. Have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday. This will be on my Facebook page for anyone that wants to rewatch it. It's going to be on my Instagram page and of course my YouTube channel. Have a beautiful weekend, and it's bye for now.